The voice of the voiceless, hopeless, money never made me, being broke did. Welcome to the OGPOV universe. We'll be kicking game from an OG point of view. W's in the chat for Amanda Seales. I don't know if y'all seen her recent video. She went viral. Amanda Seales versus 20 black conservatives. She really held it down for us, black radicals. You know what I mean? They were trying to pin her into the liberal box, liberal versus conservative, but she was very adamant in saying that I am not liberal. I do not subscribe to that system that was presented to us, not for us, but to us. You know what I mean? So, you know, shout out to the black radicals. I love that term. I might start moving around with that my damn self. But black, so it was 20 black conservatives versus Amanda Seales. And one thing about black conservatives in America, they often, when they speak about black issues, we hear them say they. When they talk about black people and our issues, it's always they. Well, they da-da-da-da, and y'all this and that. It's like they don't even see themselves as equals to just everyday black people, inner city black people. And it always comes from that perspective too, where it's like an inner city suburb thing. We see this on so many different fronts. I've lived this, you know what I mean? So from 2nd grade to 4th grade, I went to an all-white school, you know what I mean? So I understand what it's like. So people always used to say I sound white or I sound talk proper and this and that. I had proper education, you know what I mean? That's not my fault. So I understand where, you know, black conservatives may come from. Mingling, you know, when you around white people as a kid in your adolescence, when you around, when you're, what do they say, in an affluent community, you know what I mean? When you are privy or privileged to have proper schooling, proper funding, proper just upbringing, just, you know, raised in a civil society, you know, everybody doesn't have that same experience. That's why I say, you know, geography is very, very important to how you see the world. You know, it doesn't, you're not confined to that, but that is your first experience, you know? So when you get to experience different cultures as a kid, it helps you grow. It helps you grow, you know what I mean? But a lot of that is opportunity. You know, your parents have to make enough money to send you to a private school, to, you know, better public schools in different areas. You know, you gotta catch buses, you know, there's a lot that goes on into that. After school programs, this and that. So, you know, you from the streets, you from the hood, a lot of that shit, you just don't have that at your fingertips. So Amanda Seales was speaking for us. She was speaking for the people, you know, it's a not power to the black couple, the black family, power to the people. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of conservative mindsets they will pick out outliers, like, okay, Jay-Z and Beyonce did it, why can't I? Why can't you? That's true, you know what I mean? That's true. It's not reality. You know, that's called token. You know, you have token blacks, to where as though, you know, they'll highlight certain people and say, so-and-so did this, why they know? And you know, we're not monolithic, all think the same, we don't have the same experiences, we don't all view the world the same, you know, people don't react to us in the same way. You know, there's a lot of this colorism that goes on. There's a lot of things, but it all comes down to this. We are in a societal construct, you know what I mean? People were on that show on Amanda Seales versus 20 black conservatives. A lot of their fighting points were, a couple of people were saying that racism didn't exist, or discrimination, or what's the specific word? They were saying that there's no systemic racism. There aren't systems in place that directly affect our advancement. And Amanda Seales' first response was, let's start with redlining. What about redlining? What about the discriminatory practices in the real estate industry that show, you know, different priced appraisals via black couple and white couple when it comes to, you know, housing appraisals and things of that nature? They got two different prices depending on what type of family was in there. Like, that's mind-boggling. These are the things that happen. You know, we get priced out of all types of communities, things of that nature. And then when you know, our response to that back in the day was, you know what, we got our own. We don't need y'all shit. We got our own shit. And that was met with the destroying of those communities. You know what I mean? And I don't even gotta go into that. You know, do your Googles, do your research. Matter of fact, Trump trying to change right now. He's trying to change how we view history and racism and things of that nature. He trying to change libraries, change the history books. It's fucked up. So why is it always gotta be about race? Because, motherfucker, this is how this shit set up. We didn't create this society. Yes, we do have opportunities. One of the things a guy was saying on there, one of the black conservatives, he was saying, I have the same opportunities as white people. And while I don't fully disagree with that, you know what I mean? I feel that statement, you know, everybody can invest their money in the right way. Everybody can, you know, advance in society. You know, you can make money, be an entrepreneur, you can start a business, you can do a whole lot of things. I'm not saying, but I also realize that it's not just about me. You know, there's some people who just don't have those opportunities. Like let's say, for instance, let's say I'm a freshman in college, right? I come from the trenches. I had just enough money to get here. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on my financial aid. I'm in the first day of classes or whatever. And they like, yo, read from the book. I'm like, damn, I don't even got enough money from the book. You know, let's say my classmate next to me, she come from the hills. She up in the hills somewhere. She got her book. She got pencils, book bag, all types of shit. We see that on every single level. I'm talking about college, but now I can't read along with the class and follow along. Now I'm behind just simply because I don't have enough money for books. You know? So let's say they cut the program that would give me funding for that book. They cut the program because they just feel as though it's not fair or whatever, for whatever reason. It puts me further behind. You know what I mean? So these are the things that we see on all levels. While the opportunities may be, you know, available for us, we're not at the same starting point. People have had, 400-year head start. That's it all comes back to the system that we are operating in. It is not for us. That's it. And I just really, I love Amanda Seales for that. People was like, yo, I'm not backing niggas not jacking Amanda Seales right now. Because, some of the things she's done in her personal life, that's cool. I guess that's another episode. I don't know. But my focus is the words that was coming out of her mouth. The game that she was dropping. The things that she was clearing up. The stances that she was taking in the face of, black conservatism. That black conservative shit is weak. You know what I mean? Because it makes they have their own opinion of us. When they talk about black people, when they speak about our people, it's always they. It's like they're talking at us or talking down to us. You know what I mean? That's the feeling that I always have gotten talking to black conservatives. They don't see it as a collective journey. They see it as an individualistic journey where, that's just a capitalistic mindset. And that's cool too. I'm not tripping. If you like it, hope you love it. But me personally, I think that we could do a lot better if we just, have more of we moved in unison. If we thought about our own people sometimes more than our own direct family. You know what I mean? Because community is what's going to take us to the next level. Building our communities. When we talk about law enforcement, we should remove cops from the inner city and watch how it turn our whole shit up. Larry June say, I was trying to dodge the police, not a nigga. I'm trying to dodge the cops. It's the cops that's fucking everything up. If you remove the cops right now from our communities, right, it would put it on the OGs to police this shit. You put it in the OGs, you think young bulls would be out here wilding out if they old heads was gonna press them? They gonna handle that shit internally? Fuck no. They wouldn't, listen, crime will go down immediately. If you let us handle that shit, crime will go down immediately. I got a half a mile to my destination. I'm talking about immediate response to crime. If young boys knew that they old heads would be on their ass, we would be able to slow the gang shit down just like that. Look at how it is in prison. When you got a whole structure, this is why they want our leaders in jail. For this reason. When you have structure and everything is in alignment, there's order. Oh, here go my location right here. There's order. You can't just do what you want to do. We hear about this in the Bloods and Crips when you go to jail. All that beef and shit that you had on the streets, that's out. It's over for that. That beef shit done. You know, you can't make a move on your own people, or you gonna have to get dealt with. That's the key right there. So I think that, you know, the powers to be understand that, and they want to keep us separated. They want to keep the cops controlling this shit. The cops don't run the jails. The COs don't run the jails. The inmates run the jails. That's why they got that structure. You know what I mean? That unity. You know, they call it the program. You know what I mean? It's all about your program. And black conservatives have been programmed to think that it's like they think that they white. It's crazy. Like, there was people on there fighting against reparations. Why the fuck would you want to be fighting against reparations? It's because you believe that it's the lie that black people are lazy. It was niggas on there saying that if we gave people money, they would be, you know, they don't deserve money. They just black people are home sitting on the couch smoking weed. What are you talking about, bruh? That's not a black thing. That's an unemployment thing. If you don't got no motion, you're gonna be at the crib. You might have a sack of weed. Like, what's wrong with that? Where's the jobs at? Where are the jobs that can help me live, you know, make a livable wage, livable income? You know, shout out to Amanda Seals, man. W's in the chat. Stay locked into all things OGPOV. I think I'm gonna make a part 2 to this video. I'm gonna make a part 2 because I want to talk a little bit further into some of the direct speaking points that they were talking about. I'm probably sit down and really go in. But stay locked into all things OGPOV, man. I appreciate y'all tapping in. Subscribe, like, comment, share, follow us on Instagram. You know, we'll figure it out, man. Shout out to Amanda Seals, though.